Good evening, and thank you for attending. My name is Deborah Exner, and I will be the moderator for this evening's event. Joining me is Paula Thomas with the Arizona Clean Elections Commission. The Citizens Clean Election Commission is the sponsor for this evening's event. The Clean Elections Act is a campaign finance reform measure initiated by Arizona citizens and passed by voters in 1998. Participation as a clean elections candidate is strictly voluntary. The system provides full funding for qualified candidates who agree to abide by the Clean Elections Act and rules. To qualify for funding, participating candidates must illustrate the support of their constituents by gathering $5 qualifying contributions from registered voters in their legislative district. The candidates agree to adhere to contribution and spending limits and may not accept money from special interest groups. They also agree to participate in these debates. As we move into the debate, we encourage audience questions. If you have questions, please print them clearly on the card that was given to you when you walked in and hold it up, and one of our volunteers will deliver it to me. We screen questions for clarity, to eliminate duplications, speeches, or personal attacks on candidates. If you need another card, just raise your hand. The debate is scheduled for 1 hour, so we may not get to all of the audience questions, but we will do our best. There's an independent timer who will see that all the candidates have equal time to answer questions and will tell them when their time is up. Our format this evening will be opening statements for 3 minutes, 2 minutes to answer audience questions, 2 minutes to answer candidate-to-candidate questions, and closing statements for 3 minutes. We ask that you remain polite to all of the candidates and give them a fair and uninterrupted hearing, no matter how strongly you may agree or disagree with anything that's being said. This means no applause, outbreaks, or cheers, except now as we introduce the candidates. This is especially important, as Dave said, because closed captioning services will be made available after the debate and for individuals that are hearing impaired. As such, I will refer to each candidate by their full name and ask them to speak clearly into their microphone. Our candidates this evening are Ms. Debbie Lesko, Republican, running for State Senate. Ms. Carolyn Vasko, Democrat, running for State Senate, and a clean elections participant. Mr. Rick Gray, Republican, running for State Representative. Ms. Esther Lumm, Democrat, running for State Representative and a clean elections participant. And Mr. Tony Rivero, Republican, running for State Representative. The order in which the candidates will speak has been determined by alphabetical order by last name, starting with the Senate, and will progress from that starting point. The closing order will be determined by reverse alphabetical order by last name. Ms. Debbie Lesko, would you please start the opening remarks?
I will. First of all, good evening, and thank you for being here. My name is Debbie Lesko. I'm your current state representative, and I'm blessed and honored to serve you these last 6 years. You know, the first time I ran for office was in 2008, and I ran because I was concerned about the future of our state and our nation, and I wanted to make a difference. And that's the same reason that I'm running today, is because I'm continued to be concerned about the future of our state and nation, and I believe I have made a difference. I have earned a good reputation for hard work and commitment. Every year that I have been in the legislature, I have introduced legislation to help constituents solve a problem right in our district. And every single year, I have also sponsored and supported big idea legislation that helps residents throughout the entire state. I also have a good reputation for reaching out to my constituents. Every single month, I send out an emailed newsletter to approximately 20,000 people in our district. And I get a lot of responses. I always ask for input. I include my phone numbers, my email addresses, and I get good responses, and then I return the responses and talk back to them. I also write guest columns. I try to do it every month. In that, I put my contact information and ask for input. And of course, I go to a lot of meetings throughout the 6 years. I always want to hear from my constituents. I have also earned a good reputation of working across the aisle. I work well with both Republicans and Democrats, and that's why all 13 of my bills that got signed into law this year have both Republican and Democrat support. Because of my hard work and commitment, I have been named Legislator of the Year, Leader of Public Policy, School Choice Champion, Guardian of Small Business, Friend and Hero of the Taxpayer, and I also received the Golden Apple Award by the Arizona Parents for Education. I ask for your vote.
Thank you. Ms. Carolyn Vasko.
Good evening, and thank you to the Clean Elections Commission for hosting this event, and my thanks to each of you for participating. I am Carolyn Vasko, and I am running for LD21's open Senate seat. I am married, and I have 2 daughters who attend the Peoria Unified School District. I have a bachelor's degree from Arizona State University at the West Campus, and currently I'm a realtor, and I help my husband with his small business. I am running for the Arizona Senate because I think we need to return some common sense to the legislature. I can't sit on the sidelines and watch our education system continue to be ruined. As most of you know, Arizona ranks on the lowest rungs of the ladders nationally in education. This is because of the purposeful underfunding of our school system. My opponent supported these cuts, which have led to Arizona to the crisis state we're in. Her support of robbing public schools to fund private schools must be stopped. Our children deserve an education that provides them with the best opportunity to be competitive in the 21st century economy. Further, I believe that organizations outside our state have more influence over our legislatures than the folks in District 21. My opponent says that she has an open door policy and she communicates with her constituents. However, I believe that the American Legislative Exchange Council and other lobbyists have far more access to her than you and I ever will. It's time to enact comprehensive ethics reform and limit lobbyist access to our legislators. The days of secret dinners and lobbyist-funded vacations has to end. And when I am elected, I will work to restore policymaking to the voters of District 21. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rick Gray.
Well, I also want to thank you for coming out. I know there's a lot of other things that you could be doing, but you have made a commitment, and that's what makes our country great, is when people are committed to our political system. And I do want to thank the Clean Election folks. This is my 3rd Clean Election debate, and they have always done a very professional job, and it's just very enjoyable to work with them. I do want to also let you know that my wife is here in the audience. Lisa, I've been married to her for about 17 years now. For those of you that are watching on camera, yeah, I got the thumbs up on that. For those of you that are watching on camera, you're at a disadvantage because you're forced to look at me, and everybody else in the room knows that she is truly my better half in every way. I also have 4 kids and 6 grandchildren. This is my 3rd Clean Elections debate. I've been in office for 2 terms. When I first ran 4 years ago, I was asked, what is the thing that has most prepared you to work at the Capitol? And I said, I think what it is I was a single parent of 4 kids. And when you're a single parent of 4 kids, there's always somebody upset with you. But as a parent, you have to do what's best. You can't show favoritism, you have to do what's best. And I think after 4 years of being at the legislature, 4 sessions anyway, not 4 full years, but 4 sessions, I can say that, yeah, that evaluation was accurate. that has been a real contribution to me. And when I first got involved with politics, I had no idea I would ever run for office. In fact, my first really campaign that I worked on was Debbie Lesko's when she first ran. And as we were walking around, we'd come to a point and she'd asked me, she said, "Have you ever thought about running for office?" And I've told people afterwards, I said, if you were to say, if I was to say to you, "Are you planning on taking a vacation to the moon later this year?" That response of how ridiculous that is kind of how I felt. But at the next term that came up, we had an open seat, and I began to evaluate, who do I want representing me and my district? And for me, I wanted a person who had been a business owner, a person who had signed the front of a check and not just the back of the check, somebody who had been responsible for people and knew that when they made decisions, it had an economic impact not only on their employee, but every member of that employee's family. And the other person that was running for our party didn't have that. And so after a lot of prayer and talk with my wife, I decided to run. I'm limited on time here, but you can find out more about me on my website, voterickgray.com, and I look forward to probably talking with, or hopefully talking with you afterwards too. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Esther Lumm.
Thank you. Thank you for Clean Elections having this debate, and thank you to the audience for coming here. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my background. I am the daughter of immigrants from Mexico, and I have 4 sisters and 1 brother. I have a blended family of 5 children and 12 grandchildren and 1 great-grandson. I have lived in the Phoenix metropolitan area all of my life. I was born here. And my experience is more life experience. I have never run for office before, but I have been involved in many, many candidates for other people that have run for office. I have been an advocate for education, for employment, for veterans, just about anything that showed injustice or inequality. I made sure that I was involved in the sense of writing letters, of attending legislative hearings, of meeting with leaders like the governor's staff, and anyone that I needed to meet with in order to seek justice. I have even met and advocated for whistleblowers. And so I became involved as far back as when, well, actually it was when Cesar Chavez came to Phoenix to march for the rights of the farm workers so that they would not have chemicals sprayed while they were working. And that's what got me involved into advocacy. And from that point on, I joined the Arizona Hispanic Community Forum and became an advocate for just about everything. Employment, everything. And so I want to tell you a little bit that I feel that I'm qualified because of my life experience, because I have been so involved in the community, and I know the issues. I have fought for them, fought for justice, fought for equality, and so I feel that that totally makes me qualified to run. I have life experience. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was why I'm running. I'm running because, having lived here all my life, I'm very proud of Arizona. I love my state, and I want to be proud of it, but I believe that its image has been tarnished. And so I want to bring more balance to the legislature so that when we go out of state, we have more positive comments about Arizona rather than being on late-night comedy shows. So I'm asking for your vote to bring more common sense and balance to the legislature because I feel that I can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tony Rivero.
Thank you. I would like to start by thanking the voters of District 21, those in attendance, for the opportunity to be here. It's truly an honor and privilege to be able to meet and discuss the issues that are facing our state. I'm currently on the Peoria City Council. I'm a proud father, I'm a happy husband, and I have a great family. And one of the main reasons that I'm running is because of the direction of our state. I have a lot of family, I have a lot of friends, who are impacted by the policies that are adopted by our policymakers. And I grew up in one of the oldest, poorest areas in the city of Peoria, but that has given me good insight on issues that we face. For example, people who are struggling to find a job, people who are tired of utility rate increases, people who are tired of taxes going up. Because what does that do? What does utility rates do? What do taxes going up do? They take away money from poor people. They take away money from the middle class. And I briefly want to talk about my record and also talk about what I've done on the Peoria City Council. When I first got on, I went through line by line our budget and looked at the wasteful spending that the city government was doing. And in order to tackle some of these issues, I had to take a leadership role. For example, 50% of our management team was receiving car allowances, $500 per month per employee, regardless of whether they were using their vehicle for city business or not. So what I did is I gave up my own car allowance, which is 20% of my base pay. And I was able to work with other council members to get rid of 90% of the car allowances in the city of Peoria. And that helped save taxpayers money, because the money doesn't belong to me, it doesn't belong to the city council. Second, for the last 4 years, I have voted against every utility rate increase. And 3 out of those 4, we were successful in stopping utility rate increases from going up. Last year, we adopted something that has not been done in the state, and that is we cut the food tax, which meant that taxpayers who are struggling, taxpayers who are living from paycheck to paycheck will have a little bit more money in their pocket. That's my attitude, and that's what I will do if I am elected and have the privilege of representing District 21, and that is that I will stand up to the taxpayer regardless of the opposition, and that's what I've done in Peoria when I've been attacked by my own mayor and my own colleagues of my party, and that's what I'll do for you. I hope I could have your support on November. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to our audience questions. First question is, do you support a tax increase for education? If yes, why? If no, why? And we'll start with Ms. Carolyn Vasko.
I don't support, I would say no. I don't support a tax increase. The state legislature of the past created a budget crisis for us by withholding funds from Arizona's public schools. The repayment of those funds is absolutely the right thing to do and must be done. However, because the existing legislators did not plan to repay the money, it's going to take very careful and strategic planning going forward. In the initial budget, there is money in the rainy day fund which can assist with the inflation rate and some of the back payments. However, using rainy day funds to make the first payments only get us a short distance to paying back what current legislators have ripped out of our schools. There are some quick common sense ways that we can be fiscally responsible and get us on a path toward funding education properly. First, we can eliminate the arbitrary TPT exemptions or transaction privilege tax exemptions on memberships and country club fees. We can eliminate business tax credits for preparing their business taxes. We can eliminate the school tuition tax credit, and we can freeze the corporate tax cut that the legislator put in place in 2011. There are many more ideas that we can do to support education, but it's going to take everybody sitting down and putting aside their political ideologies and working for the best of the state of Arizona and our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rick Gray.
No, I am not for a tax increase. And unfortunately, we can get rhetoric that spikes because we're in a competition. But to say that we ripped money away is just inaccurate. The bottom line is we had financial problems as a state because of poor spending and not necessarily being as conservative with projections as we thought. And it was in the term before me But our legislators went to the extent of mortgaging our state capital to avoid cutting education anymore. Now, I do believe that we need to take a holistic look at education for more than just money, just because we're not producing the kind of education requirements that we should expect from our kids. But the situation we are in now is that we have a $317 million requirement by the court, which I will say that according to the court ruling, their evaluation is the word "or" means "and." So I won't get into the weeds on the judgment of the judge, but if you look at that whole case, there's some questions on why that was determined that way, and that's why there's an appeal. But the bottom line is, at the legislature, we have work to keep as much money in K-12 education as possible. In fact, I will make one point too, if I get the time, otherwise I'll catch it up later. Okay. I will bring that up later. But the reality is, our greatest commitment in money in our state budget, 41% of our budget goes to K-12 education.
Thank you. Ms. Esther Lumm.
No, I'm not in favor of raising taxes. That would have to be a very last resort. I think that there are other ways that we can come up with that money, and one of them would be, instead of raising taxes on the citizens, I would start with perhaps giving less tax credits to corporations, reducing them. I'm not saying to do away with them completely, because we all know that we do need business in order to create jobs. But I know for a fact that the advantage has been given to the corporations, and that money could have gone to education instead. So absolutely not would I ever approve or vote for starting with taxing the people first.
Thank you. Mr. Tony Rivero.
Thank you. No, I would not support a tax. I think that would not be a good thing for the citizens. What I would focus on is something similar to what we did in the city of Peoria, and that is creating jobs. How do we do that? We do that by eliminating regulation and burdens that restrict economic development. For example, recently the city council adopted a self-certification program in the city of Peoria, where now employers and companies could go to the city of Peoria and have their blueprints fast-tracked in 24 hours, so they don't have to spend months and months waiting to receive their blueprints. If you show up, you could get your blueprints done and approved in 24 hours, so you could start breaking ground, so you could start hiring, so you could start building and opening up your shop. What we need in the state of Arizona is jobs, 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 and the way we create this environment where employers are attractive in the state of Arizona is by reducing regulation.
Thank you. Ms. Debbie Lesko.
Can you please repeat the question?
Sure. Do you support a tax increase for education? If yes, why? If no, why?
Thank you. No, I do not support a tax increase for education or for anything else. And my opponent, Ms. Vasko, said she does not support a tax increase, but yet that she went on to say, but I do support eliminating tax credits for businesses, tax exemptions, tax credits for schools. Well, that is a tax increase, because if you're eliminating exemption, you're increasing somebody's taxes. And, you know, I've been named the school choice champion and also received the Golden Apple Award for education from the Arizona Parents for Education. Education is the legislature's #1 spending priority. We spend 41% of our state general fund on K through 12 education, kindergarten through 12 education. It's $3.8 billion. And it's roughly $9,318 we pay per student per year. Could we do better? Of course. And that's why when we were in a deep recession, it was very tough We had to cut the budget because we were $3 billion short. We had to cut it everywhere. But in the last 2 years, we have started to restore funding, and we've restored funding quite a lot to K through 12 education, and we will continue to do so as funds are available. But no, we cannot raise taxes on people. We cannot raise taxes on businesses. Those are the ones that supply the jobs to employ the people. We cannot do it. I do not support a tax increase.
Thank you. The next question is, where will the money come from to pay for Medicaid expansion as the federal dollars go away? A tax increase, or would you support an effort to repeal Medicaid expansion? Mr. Rick Gray.
Well, as probably all of you know, I voted against the expansion. I viewed, and one of the things I said on the floor of the House in our vote, which is probably about 3 or 4 in the morning, was that everybody that had their name on that board was doing what they thought was best for Arizona. But the bottom line is a short-term fix of bringing money in for the next couple of years, to me, doesn't outweigh the fact that once that is stopped, we could actually go down to 80% and it wouldn't trigger the trigger that the governor had said she set. We would end up paying 20% of that. With our finances, there is no way that that could be done without raising taxes exorbitantly. And I'll echo what Representative Lesko had also said, to drive home that when you talk about eliminating business credits, tax credits, you are talking about taxing, increasing taxing, and even if you don't own a business, if you buy from those businesses, that goes into their bottom line. Anybody that knows basic business or basic economics knows that that's going to be passed on. So what you're doing then is saying, okay, you're going to pay more taxes. The cost of those goods are going to go up. Plus, you won't have the money as a business to have as many employees. So it becomes a vicious cycle. But we do have serious problems, and one of the things too that as seniors, and we've got some seniors out in the room, that you need to be aware of with this new access or Medicare program is if you go in and your doctor tells you this is observation, or in fact you just go in and you think you're being received into the hospital, you need to ask them, is this observation, or am I being I forget the word, brought in? Because if it's observation, you cover out of your own pocket all of those expenses. So there's some things with Obamacare that people aren't aware of, and it's going to cost us financially in a lot of different areas.
Thank you. Ms. Esther Lumm.
I am very much in favor of the Medicaid expansion because I have seen how many people it has helped. And as far as the tax credits, that we shouldn't cut any tax credits for corporations because they provide jobs. Well, for example, in June alone, the revenue in the general fund revenues were $56 million below forecast due to low corporate income tax and sales tax collections. So I still feel that we have put giving corporations a hefty tax credit, and many times, sorry to say, it was to pay back the donors that gave to some of the legislative people, the representatives or senators. This is just wrong. We have the elderly, we have the sick, we have the poor, and we have to consider, let's face it, folks, we don't have those pensions that used to exist. So what's going to happen to these people? Do we care more about money, money, money? And yes, of course, money's important. You need it in order to live. But we have to set priorities with people also. And Medicaid has ensured that many people are being taken care of. My mother alone is 103 years old, and she is in a care home because we can no longer take care of her. And Medicaid is helping. But it's not for personal reasons. This can happen to thousands of people in Arizona.
Thank you. Mr. Tony Rivero.
Thank you. I'm against Obamacare, but I think one of the ways that we get out of this situation where we're running into shortfalls is what I recently answered to the prior question, and that is we need to grow this economy. We need to reduce regulation. We need to give people opportunities. We need to attract companies that will hire people. Other states are doing well. The state of Arizona isn't. We're falling behind Texas. We're falling behind other states who are attracting companies. The way we get out of this mess is by giving people an opportunity, whether it's high-tech jobs, low jobs. The bottom line is when I knock on people's doors, when I visit my neighbors, when I visit my friends, what they're asking for is opportunities, jobs, and employment. And that's an area where whether you go to Peoria, or you go to El Mirage, Surprise, or Youngtown, that people are hungry for. And I'm willing to work with anybody at the state legislature and with the new governor to make Arizona a hub for employment so that we give everyone an opportunity, including our college graduates, our recent high school students, and that will help bring in revenues to the state of Arizona.
Thank you. Ms. Debbie Lesko.
Thank you. I think the question was where will the money come from when the federal dollars runs out for Medicaid expansion? I oppose the Medicaid expansion for exactly that reason. I know that there's constituents that need health care, and we have increased funding for health care. In fact, I'll go over the budget numbers in a second. But the problem is in the short term with the Medicaid expansion, it helped the state financially because we're taxing hospitals. We're taxing them a bed tax. And in fact, I've joined on to a lawsuit suing to stop Medicaid expansion because when you add a tax, you're supposed to get a 2/3 vote of the legislature. And we did not get a 2/3 vote of the legislature. And so it's in the courts right now, it's being sued, and I am a plaintiff on that suit because I do not believe it was constitutional. I'm very afraid that the federal government is so much in debt, trillions and trillions of dollars in debt, that they will not be able to continually afford to pay for our state share and will be stuck with the bill when we add more and more people. Right now, almost 1 in 4 people in Arizona are on access. That's a lot of people, 23%, and it cost us a lot of money. In fact, when you add in all total spending in our state, including all sources, healthcare is the #1 total spending at $10.5 billion.
Oh, thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome.
Ms. Carolyn Vasko.
I do support the Medicaid expansion. Having worked in one of the Valley's hospitals, I've seen folks come in as sick as they could possibly be and scared out of their mind about how they were going to pay for it. Most people are on fixed incomes or living paycheck to paycheck, and they know that one major medical event could put their family in choices between paying their mortgage or their rent and buying food and feeding their children. And right now, the reality is that the dollars that the hospitals are paying to support this Medicaid expansion is actually working to their benefit because they're reducing the amounts of uncompensated care that they've been having to write off month after month after month for all these patients that weren't covered by any kind of insurance. And as far as the tax thing goes, the thing you need to know is that in the $9.4 billion budget for FY15, 7.5 of that is paid for by you. You pay for it through sales tax and personal income tax. The $1.5 billion that's paid for by corporations and other sources is significantly lopsided. So you're already being taxed for just about everything to fund the state. I think that Medicaid expansion was the right thing to do, and I'll support it. I think one way we could save money is to stop suing people over Medicaid expansion.
Thank you. The next question is, do you agree with President Obama's proposed executive order allowing illegal immigrants to stay in our country and obtain legal status? And we'll start with Ms. Esther Lumm.
I absolutely agree with President Obama in awarding the DACA students, which is Deferred Action Childhood Arrival. These children are here through no fault of their own. And I have heard people tell me, well, you know, their parents messed up and they have to accept the consequences. Well, that just doesn't sound like an American value to me. These children are bright. Many of them we have awarded scholarships to, and they are going to become doctors, engineers, everything that you can imagine, scientists, and they are so motivated. My sister alone was born in Juarez, Mexico, and she became a citizen when she was 19 years old. She's a teacher, a retired teacher, and even after teaching, she gave back to the community by volunteering to tutor for free. There's a terrible misconception about undocumented people. In my family alone, my parents produced 6 children, all of which got educated, and productive workers gave back to the community. And all of our children, about 90% of them have bachelor's and master's degrees, and they all give back to the community. We know hundreds of families that are immigrants, and they can mirror that and produce hundreds more families that are that way. So there's a terrible misconception about immigrants coming here to bleed the system. The fact is that we are productive and we give back to the system.
Thank you. Mr. Tony Rivero.
Thank you. I don't support DACA, and the reason I don't is I think it's a Band-Aid approach. When President Obama was running for office in 2008, he said and he promised this country that within 100 days he would solve the immigration problem. And what happens in the middle of a campaign year in 2012? He signs an executive order. What we need is a complete solution to this problem so that we're not in this situation as Republicans and Democrats pointing fingers at each other. The reason I am upset with the Democratic Party and the president, they've given lip service on this issue for the last 8 years when we have a situation where we're having people come up and we don't have a secure border. We haven't created a transparent way for people to come here legally. So if people want to come here and work and look for an opportunity, they can. But we're stuck in a situation where this administration and the Democratic Party continue to say, it's the Republicans' fault. We'll do it next year. What we need to do is secure the border, and we need to deal with the people who are here in an intelligent, rational, and humane way. And we need to set up a guest worker program so that we're not in this situation in 10 years from now debating between Republicans and Democrats. So I don't support a Band-Aid approach. I support a complete solution to this problem.
Thank you. Ms. Debbie Lesko.
Thank you. No, I do not agree with President Obama's executive order to grant amnesty. I don't agree with the one he did in 2012, and I don't agree with the proposed one that he says he's going to do after the election. We are a country of laws, and I learned back in elementary school that there's a separation of powers. The president cannot, should not, I believe it's unconstitutional to just do an executive order without Congress being involved. It is up to Congress to do these laws. Now, when President Obama was in power and the House and the Senate were both Democrat-controlled, they didn't get it done either. So if they wanted to get it done, they could have got it done. They had Democrats in power in all three, the House, the Senate, and the President. They didn't get it done. He shouldn't be the king of the United States of America. He's the president, and it should be done by Congress.
Thank you. Ms. Carolyn Vasko.
I do support DACA, but the reality is that we could avoid the whole conversation if folks in Washington would get behind the efforts of Senators John McCain and Jeff Flake and pass the legislation that they've put forward. If nothing else, we should be encouraging our Congressman, Mr. Trent Franks, to urge the vote in the House. The Senate has a bill. It's ready to do comprehensive immigration reform and deal with all of these issues, but they won't allow it to come to the floor. So until we can deal with that, the president doesn't have much choice but to consider how to help folks on his own. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rick Gray.
A lot of what's said on here, with my running mates, I agree with. One of the things that bothers me is the reference to some of the young people and what they bring to the table. Of course, we've got some tremendous people there, but the bottom line is, even as Representative Lesko said, we had a Democrat president with a Democrat House and a Democrat Senate, and they didn't solve the problem. Why? Because there's no leadership there. It's a political situation, not a leadership situation. And sadly, I do believe we need to solve this immigration issue. There should be no reason why, if we've got solid leadership that's saying we want to do that, they can't. They can secure the border, they can solve the problem, but it's more advantageous to use it as a political football, and unfortunately that's what it's being used at. And again, I think it's unfortunate when we've got a president who is willing to go around and circumvent the structure of our government and try and push things through himself when it should be going through Congress.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we will, each of the candidates will have an opportunity to ask one of the other candidates a question. In the cases of the state representatives, they have drawn a name since there's not just a one-for-one split here. So the first question will be from Mr. Tony Rivero for Ms. Lumm.
Ms. Lumm, what is the major change we should make in our state education system?
The major change that we should make is to restore funding to public education. I believe that education is the base of everything. You cannot build a career. You can bring in all the companies that you want, and they can be wonderful technology companies that bring good benefits, decent paying jobs. But if we don't have the workforce to fill those positions, if those corporations say that they can't come here because they can't find the skilled people that they need to fill those positions, then what good does it do? We must get those students ready. And that's why I support the Arizona College and Career Ready standards. Now, 47 states have already implemented it as Common Core. And I know that a lot of people are against Common Core because they have the misconception that the federal government is going to tell them how to do it. The federal government only sets standards. Why would Arizona want to be the only state that doesn't meet standards and can't compete with the students in other states? We must restore the funding and give those teachers the instructional tools, the resources necessary for them to be able to instruct the students on those standards.
Thank you. Ms. Debbie Lesko for Ms. Carolyn Vasko.
Thank you very much. On Ms. Vasko's website, she states some positions, and one of her position statements is under education, and it says, require early education by reinstating full-day kindergarten. Full-day kindergarten costs $230 to $250 million a year. We are already forecasted to have a deficit in our state budget. How do you plan to pay for that?
Well, again, if we weren't underfunding education, there would be money in the school systems for full-day kindergarten. When we were funding our schools, kids went to kindergarten all day. Now, in order for your child to go to kindergarten all day, they get to go for free for the first half, and then they have to pay for the second half. Again, we need to restore all the money that we didn't pay them to start with, and then we need to look at other ways to increase revenue so that we can properly fund education into the future.
Thank you. Next question is Ms. Carolyn Vasko for Ms. Debbie Lesko.
You are a big supporter of the Empowerment Scholarship Program. Can you explain to me how you can support a program that allows a known loophole to give taxpayer money to a student and a parent to fund their college education from kindergarten through high school through the Coverdale Education Savings Accounts, basically giving them a scholarship that could be as much as $26,000 over the course of their K through 12 education?
Empowerment scholarship accounts, I sponsored the original legislation. Arizona is the first in the nation to implement this fantastic school choice for parents and students. Empowerment scholarship accounts were originally started in 2011 for special needs children. And parents came to me from the Peoria School District, from the Dysart School District that had children with special needs. And they said, Debbie, my child just isn't doing well in the public school. Now, the public schools do a lot of good things, and I know our schools do a lot of good things with special needs. But all schools don't fit, all kids don't fit in one box. So the Empowerment Scholarship Account gives parents and students 90% of what the state general fund would normally give for that child in that school. It's a fantastic program. We have had testimony from parents saying how their child with autism couldn't even speak when they were in a previous public school, but now they were able to take that 90%. So the state saves money. The state saves 10%. Plus, the parent can take the 90% and put that child in a school that's designed just for autistic kids, and their children were able to speak and able to excel. It's fantastic. It's first in the nation. I am so proud to be a sponsor of it. It's going to blossom throughout the whole nation, and I'm proud of it.
Thank you. The next question is from Mr. Rick Gray for Mr. Tony Rivero.
Well, I was going to ask you, Tony, what proudest thing that you had done on the Peoria City Council, but you've mentioned several things already. So I'm going to include either on the council or outside of council.
For me, being a public servant is such a unique opportunity. The citizens of the Acacia District basically said, we want you to represent us. We want you to be our fiscal guardian. We want you to protect our taxpayer money and make sure that that money is invested in the right areas. I'll repeat some of what I mentioned earlier. I'm proud to be part of a voting bloc that prevented utility rate increases from going up. I'm proud to be part of a voting bloc that cut the food tax in the city of Peoria. Why? The food tax hurts and takes away money from those who are struggling in our communities. And we had a big debate about this, and one of my colleagues said, why do you want to cut the food tax? It's only going to save $50, it's only going to save taxpayers $50 per year. Every penny counts in this economy, whether it's $5 or $10, people are struggling. My biggest accomplishments, like as I mentioned, holding the line on utility rates, cutting taxes for those who are in need in our community, and being part of a city council that has improved the quality of life in the city of Peoria. These 4 years have been an amazing experience, and I want to thank the citizens of the city of Peoria for the unique opportunity to be able to serve them.
Thank you. Ms. Esther Lumm for Mr. Rick Gray.
I was going to ask you a different question, but you've already answered it, so I will modify it a bit. Are you in favor of DACA students being allowed a path to citizenship when they have known no other country but the United States?
I think for me, it's, again, we have to look at this in a holistic way. So if a child has come here and hasn't been in, we have kids anywhere from just newly born, to grade school age. they don't know a different country. I think we have to be considerate of that. I think we have to realize that we can't send them to another country because they don't have that country. Now, that's not counting the kids that are coming up from Honduras. So I am open to looking at that and saying, let's solve this problem humanely, but correctly, and do it holistically so that we're not using it as, again, as a political football to where we gain points on our sides. We're saying, here's a problem, let's solve the problem in the right way.
Thank you. We will now begin the candidate closing statements. The first closing statement will be given by Mr. Tony Rivero.
Thank you. Once again, I want to thank those in attendance, the voters of District 21, and the Clean Elections Committee for this unique opportunity to come before you and discuss issues that are important to not only the District 21, but the state of Arizona. As I mentioned earlier, I will be finishing off my term in the city of Peoria, 4 years, where I've worked hard for the citizens of Peoria. I've had an open door policy. People have called me when they've had issues with the police department, with the engineering department, with the utilities department. I represent them. I was voted by them to represent them in office. And in talking to many of you leading up to this debate, I share the same issues. I share the same concerns. Our state is not going in the right direction. And when I knock on doors and I talk to individuals who are in the similar boat as us, they are struggling. They're looking for employment. They're looking for jobs. And I commit to working with Republicans and Democrats to make this state better. I commit to working with the new governor to make Arizona the leading state in jobs and education. And I will commit to work 24 hours, if I have to represent you. And if I am given the opportunity to represent in a 2-year term, I will not only work for you, I will work as hard as I can to make sure that we adopt intelligent, smart policies that will make the state of Arizona better. And lastly, I would love your support and your vote in this upcoming general election. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ms. Esther Lumm.
Thank you. I am asking for your vote because I see myself as the one candidate that can bring some balance to this state. I have such an advocacy experience that I know the problems. I have fought for veterans. I have done workshops for 300 plus women who were victims of domestic violence. This was a part-time job while I did my full-time job at Bull Information Systems for 27 years, of which where I retired. I know the issues. I know the issues of not just considering about budget, which is very important, and I would certainly scrutinize it to eliminate any kind of waste and set priorities straight. But we must think about the people. We must think about the children that need protection from abuse, the elderly who need protection from abuse in nursing homes, adults who need protection from domestic violence. We need to support our programs for infrastructure to make sure that our state is kept in good condition to attract business, but attract business that is willing to pay a decent living wage so that people can retire with dignity and not have to worry about being homeless at the end of their work life. So I bring common sense and balance to this particular slate. And I'm asking for your vote because I feel that I am the most qualified candidate on the basis that I have been advocating for decades on so many different issues that benefit the community. I know that a lot of people believe that Democrats are socialists. Well, we are not. My mother and father never took a penny of welfare. They worked from 4:30 in the morning until 8 o'clock at night to put food on the table and a roof over our heads. And we, the family, are proof of that. So I am asking you to put your biases aside if you have them and look at the true picture of who is really willing to look at a balanced situation in the state and to fight for the rights and equality for all.
Thank you. Mr. Rick Gray.
Thank you. Again, thank you for your time coming here, hearing our comments. I do want to run a few things by you just so you have a good perspective of the numbers. In our last session for the 2015 budget, the legislature, majority Republican, increased our K-12 by $235 million a year. That was on top of the $2 million that we added in 13 and 14. As of the budget so far for K-12, education in the general fund is only $130 million lower than its peak in 2008. We have almost gone back, even though we've had these economic problems. Also in the 2015 budget, we spent $8 million to set aside for tests to replace Ames. As far as I'm concerned, we need higher standards. We need to raise the bar. We should not accept mediocrity. We need to do a whole lot more, and it's not just giving money. We need to get into education and say, how can we fix this problem? It's our kids. We can't waste time doing that. Higher education, we've given $27.5 million to help bring parity between the three universities. I want to go over to jobs because when I first ran, that was one of the things that I talked about. Tony Rivero talked about it too, about building our economy. In my first term, we had 2 jobs bills. And Glenn Hammer, who is the CEO of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, his word to describe that is monumental. What we did in that with those 2 bills was monumental. And we've seen the recovery. We're not, I mean, a lot of what's going on the national level has really hindered us on the state. But right now, we are rated number 1 for entrepreneurial activity by Fast Company. I won't go through all of the ratings, but Forbes has ranked Arizona as number 1 in future job growth. We need to continue on that path, and we will when we make wise choices. One thing I want to say, though, is when we talk about funding and if we do this, it's going to cost money. We only have a pie that we have to cut up. Right now, education gets 41%. If you look up the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, they've got a chart of what average states pay. The average state pays 25% of their budget for K-12 education. We pay 41%. For what we've got, and there's a whole lot of other things that I'd like to go into if I had the time, of where we can bring money in that doesn't mean taxing citizens. But where we are right now is with what we've got for our budget, what the revenues that we've got, I believe, have done a very good job of maintaining education as well as we can. Anytime we're talking about spending more money, that's going to come out of something. And again, one of the things that we've done, I need to stop, check out my website, voterickgray.com.
Thank you. Thank you.
I do try and follow the rules.
Ms. Carolyn Vasko.
I want first to thank the Clean Elections Commission again for hosting this, and I want to thank all of you for coming. I hope it gave you an opportunity to learn more about me and why I want to move Arizona forward. We do have quite a crisis in our state at this point, and some of that is based on decisions made by prior legislatures, and it is going to take a lot of work. But we need to restore Arizona to some traditional values that made the state great. One of them is that if we invest in our children, we invest in our future. We need to be providing the best education we can to our children so that they become the highly trained, highly skilled employees and entrepreneurs of the future. We also need to be working with local businesses, community colleges, and vocational schools to make sure that our unemployed and our underemployed have the skills they need to fill the open technical positions we have right now. If I'm elected, I will leverage my own business networks to bring new high-tech businesses to our district And finally, I will work with other legislators to make sure that the bills presented to the governor are not divisive and discriminatory, but open and create equality for all of Arizona, so that they live up to our goal of continued economic growth. Again, I thank the Clean Elections Commission. I thank the other candidates for participating. I know that for some of you it was optional. And I thank you for wanting to be informed voters. And I hope that when you get your early ballot or you go to the polls, that you will vote Vasko. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Debbie Lesko.
Well, I think you have some clear choices here tonight, and there was a lot of good questions that really showed the differences between the candidates, so I applaud you. Great questions, and it really showed the difference. I ask for your vote, and I'm asking for your vote because I have a proven track record. I have a proven track record of supporting legislation that protects our rights and freedoms, that supports the military and veterans, that increases job growth, that improves education and health care, that curbs illegal immigration, and that strengthens families. I also have experience. I've been in the legislature for 6 years, and the people have reelected me. I am also very accessible. I always give out my home phone number. I write letters to the editor all the time, guest columns, ask people opinions. I answer my home phone. And I really do listen to my constituents. That's why every single year I have written legislation brought forth by my constituents to solve a problem right here in our district. And I work hard. In that whole entire 6 years, I have never once missed a floor vote, never once. And that's quite an accomplishment. There's not many of us that have that record. Because of my track record and my hard work, I am honored to be endorsed by a wide coalition of people, and they are in-state organizations. They are teachers and veterans, Arizona Police Association, the Arizona Fraternal Order of Police, the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, which represents the large businesses, NFIB, which represents small businesses in Arizona, the Arizona Association of Realtors, the Arizona Nurses Association, the Home Builders Association, the Certified Public Accountant Association of Arizona, and the Arizona Contractors Coalition. This is a wide variety of people that have seen the type of work that I've done and are supportive of my candidacy. More importantly, the voters of my district have endorsed me because they know that I work hard for them. If you have any questions, please visit my website, debbielesko.com, DEBBIELESKO.com, or call my home number, 623-878-9761. I'd appreciate your vote, and I'd love your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you. We thank you all very much for participating in this forum tonight. And we thank all of you for coming out and taking the time to inform yourself before voting. We encourage you to find out more about clean elections and the candidates running for office by visiting www.azcleanelections.gov. A link to the video of this debate, as well as other clean elections debates, will be posted on that site within 72 hours of the scheduled debate. We also ask that you fill out the evaluation form you received as you entered and return it to one of our volunteers. Your feedback is important to the commission. Thank you all for coming tonight.